2002, a year when A Man of Spiders was played by Maguire and American Idol was a current and relevant show. It's also the year that Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, an action platformer developed by Chrome Studios and published by EA, was released and took the world by a slight breeze, cause people know about this game and some definitely have played it, but it never made any sort of lasting impression. But I do remember playing this game back when I had a GameCube and liking it, even if I only played 2 levels because I didn't know how to progress the game properly. Seeing the game remastered on Steam, I decided to take a trip down Nostalgia Boulevard to judge whether or not the game holds up. So, what the frick is Ty the Tasmanian Tiger? Our story begins with whatever this blurry mess is supposed to be. Here we are introduced to Ty, running from some sort of creature, while all is calm and still and chasing after his assailant, he falls down the plot device hole and meets a bunyip who tells him about a battle between a group of Tasmanian tigers and Boss Cass over the talismans. While the tigers are able to stop Cass from grabbing the talismans, they are trapped in a different dimension. Ty also realizes that 2 of these tigers are his parents.
Mom? Dad?
He seems real distraught about the whole situation. Ty is tasked to find the talismans to bring back the tigers and stop Boss Cass once and for all. Later on, you meet up with a cockatoo named Maury and a koala named Julius who agree to help you if you can supply Julius with enough Thunder Eggs, the game's main collectible. From here on, you set out to different locations to find as many Thunder Eggs as you can while fighting Boss Cass's minions and helping out random anthropomorphic animals with their issues. So this is your basic collectathon plot with an Aussie backdrop and your hero versus villain story. But stealing a page from Nitro right here, that this game definitely borrows a lot from a certain blue hedgehog. So, now that the basic story summary is done, let's see how this game plays. The game is your run-of-the-mill platformer with light combat mechanics. Ty can run and jump, and for the most part it's pretty tight, only sometimes being a pain to make some of these jumps. But the meat of the game is this assortment of boomerangs. You start off with a single boomerang that can be used to dispatch enemies and break boxes. In order to get a second one, you need to go through 2 up, the game's tutorial level. Finishing the level gets you your second boomerang. This lets you glide in the air as well as doubling your damage output. You might also start to realize the sheer number of collectibles in this game. You have opals, Thunder Eggs, cogs, concept art, and cage monsters. Collecting 300 opals will net you a Thunder Egg as well as saving 5 bilbies. The cogs are used for special boomerangs made by Julius. Getting these Thunder Eggs and cogs, you unlock more boomerangs with special abilities. There are 3 types of elemental rangs. The fire one that you'll use the most that can melt ice, an ice one that will freeze enemies and extinguish fire, and the thunder one you'll forget you have. The cogs will get you more mechanical rangs that aren't necessary for beating the game but are probably the more useful ones. The zoomerangs travel far and let you zoom in on targets. The multi-rangs let you spam attacks, infra-rangs that you'll never use, mega-rangs that break the game, as well as the kaboom rang and chrono rang that I didn't bother unlocking. There's also the aqua rangs that let you fly through the water and I can't see anything. Ty can also bite enemies and objects as well as quickly travel up these spy eggs that you'll use in about 3 levels, and that's about it. Enemies aren't too terribly difficult to deal with. Most die in 1 to 3 hits, or you can just avoid them because you have a video to get done. There's actually a hardcore difficulty setting as well that I didn't realize was there. But I mean, it can't be that bad, right? One thing that I really don't like is that the controls get inverted when swimming and you can't change it. It's extremely jarring. So that's the basic rundown of the mechanics and most of the ranks, but I want to look at each level because, well, the quality of the levels varies greatly, so if you're planning to play this, let me tell you where you should spend most of your time. The first level is 2 Up, a short level with basic enemies and platforming. Maury will be here to explain all the controls and cement the fact that this is very much indeed a tutorial level. It's a decent level with some hidden areas and collectibles that you'll have to come back to get later. Shipwrecks is a water level where you learn to swim, and it's kinda too big, but it's okay for the most part. A Walk in the Park is probably my favorite level. It's a rainforest area with terrible water slides and lots of places to explore with a decent variety of missions. Snow Worries is the first snow level and is actually the worst.
What happened to you not talking about things in a negative light?
I know, but this level almost made me drop the whole video. It sucks. It's way too big to find all the collectibles, it's boring to look at, the ice physics don't work properly, the missions are lame, and it also crashed at one point, meaning I lost all the footage and had to redo a bunch of missions, including helping the stupid
censored
koala hide the fact that she's probably up for child endangerment charges and just Outback Safari is an interesting level because you actually ride on top of a giant boar and run around destroying anything in your path. It's fun for a bit and has some interesting missions, but the boomerang physics are all sorts of jank. Also, the lens flare is just a teeny bit too bright. How in the Bridge on the River Tai is a nice nighttime level that isn't too big, so finding everything is really easy, and it also comes with a mini-boss. Rex Marks the Spot is the second water level, and it's real bad. Again, it's just way too big, and the main mission is just a crappy scavenger hunt and whack a tentacle. Beyond the Black Stump is another ice level, but with fire added, cause why not? And to repeat myself, if you haven't guessed that this is a running problem with the game, the level is too big for what they want you to do. It becomes extremely monotonous to trudge back and forth through a level finding all these collectibles and—
Not you again.
They are actually trapped in a bushfire. Lady, how are you not in prison yet? Liar Liar Pants on Fire, yes that's what they called it, is the second rainforest level that's very linear for the most part, but the missions are kind of boring and the liar bird is stupidly obnoxious. Finally is Cass's Pass, and it's basically FF13 levels of walking through linear corridors with a lot less pizzazz. There's also a hidden level if you collect everything, but yeah, no, I didn't do that. I also skimmed over the boss fights because they're very easy and not memorable in the slightest.
Seems like the game is not as great as you remember.
Yeah, it seems that way, but there's still a couple of good things to talk about.
Like what?
Like the visuals and sounds that are okay. Okay, well at least I have a transition to the next section now. Moving on. So the remake has improved a fair bit of the game's original graphics, so looking at it now, it's fine. Better than some games, but everything is quite flat and some things look a bit off. The colours do pop out quite well though, so gold star for that. The rainforest areas are probably the best looking, while the snow areas are quite boring. When it comes to the animation, oh boy, it's super janky. In the game, it's actually not too bad. Tai moves well and the enemies are quite expressive, but cutscenes are so awkward and the models look terrible in them. The CGI scenes aren't that great either. Maybe something happened with the remaster, but they are really washed out and blurry. So really the only thing holding this game up visually seems to be its vibrant colours.
Maybe it's just a result of its age and when it was made?
That was my initial thought, but then this game came out the same year as Mario Sunshine, Kingdom Hearts, and Ratchet & Clank. Games that have aged much better for the most part, so I can't really give it a pass.
Well, hopefully the sound design can earn some more points.
Did you just— Well then. The music in the game is actually not too shabby. Some of the tracks are pretty average, but I actually like some of the slower songs like the one in the nighttime level in the hub world. It's pretty thematic and at least it's unique to the game. Sound effects are mostly okay, but some of the mixing can be really off at times. Now the voice acting is the real star of the show.
I use this, me lesser ring.
For those watching who may not know, I am very much indeed Aussie. So when I first heard some of these voices, I was certain that they weren't Aussie actors, but I was wrong. It's just bad acting. Maury has a good voice though.
Struck me lucky.
Very authentic, and while it might be a bit hard on the ears, I know people who talk exactly like this, so good job, Terry Gill. But Julius is just grating to listen to, and Shazza sounds like she's reading cue cards because she can't remember her lines.
Oh, shivers!
Also, when you're trying to save these children, they call out in this weird man voice, but when you reach them, they turn into sweet little angels. So the music is pretty good, but the voice acting is subpar and a bit confusing. Tai the Tasmanian Tiger is a game that hasn't really survived the tides of time. While it's by no means horrible, there are much better games in the same genre. A mixed bag of poor animation and boring levels have aged the game quite poorly, but its soundtrack is decent and the good areas are still really fun. My childhood memories of the game definitely painted it in a much better light, so while this was an interesting trip down memory lane, I'm not quite ready to pick this back up anytime soon. I can only really recommend this if you're starved for platformers and maybe want to see how Aussies think other Aussies act. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and hit the bell because you're a bloody ripper. Bye for now. You know, I thought that was going to go much better than it did.
Oh well. Are there any other games you could revisit? I know you were looking at that Voodoo game and some Sonic game earlier.
Stalking allegations aside right now, yes I was, but I don't know which one to do first.
I already made a Twitter poll that is linked in the description.
Well, aren't you just prepared? Thanks for that.
No problem. Wanna go a few rounds in Smash?
Of course, let's go.